I'm holding a pocket watch in my trembling hands. It is rusted, the color of old blood. But this watch is still beating, still keeping time. Thump, 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 like something alive far beneath the surface. The fog comes down from the Blue Ridge Mountains every autumn and never truly leaves. It settles into the hollows like a living thing, thick enough to swallow a person whole. In that fog, there existed a cabin. I stood on its threshold. I saw things I have spent the rest of my life trying to forget. And yet I cannot sleep without remembering every detail. The cabin was built into a ridge. The eastern wall was the mountain's own flesh, a bare rock face of slate and deep copper, veined with minerals oxidized to green-gray patina. The fog rolls thicker when I think of that place. The temperature seems to drop, as though the mist has followed me all these years. Time is not abstract. Time is a thing with weight and temperature. Time is something that can fail. I discovered this when I became an apprentice to the clockmaker. The cabin appeared in October, when the leaves were the color of copper pennies. The man who hired me was old through secrets and knowledge that should never have been given to human hands. His name was Cornelius Markey. He merely stood aside to let me enter. The workshop occupied the first room. It was vast. The eastern wall was exposed stone. The copper veins running through it glowed dimly, forming patterns like blood vessels. The smell was overwhelming. Sharp metallic scent of oil and steel. But beneath that was something ancient. The smell of earth from deep places, of copper oxidizing in the dark. The walls were covered with thousands of clocks. They hung from hooks, sat on shelves, crammed into alcoves. Some were pocket watches. Some were grandfather clocks. Some were crude devices barely functional. And every one of them was ticking. But they were not ticking in unison. Tick, tock, tick, tock, tick, tick, tock. The rhythm was syncopated, chaotic. To stand in that room was to stand in the center of 1,000 racing heartbeats, each discordant. The sound seemed to emerge not from the clocks, but from the mountain itself, as though the rock was breathing. Markey moved through this cacophony as though it were silence. He approached a tall case clock, its hands moving with stuttering rhythm. "It's slowing," he said. His voice was thin and dry. "The spring isn't releasing properly anymore." I did not hear it. The room was a storm of ticking. But I nodded. "We will repair it this evening," Markey said. His eyes were washed out slate. Come, I will show you to your room. At sunset, we begin the work. The workshop fell away as we moved deeper. The sound of clocks diminished. Even from interior rooms you could hear them. The ticking. Always the ticking. At sunset, Marky called me back. The oil lamps had been lit. The thousands of clocks were shadows within shadows. Marky held a stethoscope, unlike any medical instrument. The earpieces were pure copper. The diaphragm was a circle of burnished copper, engraved with shifting symbols. This is not for listening to hearts, Marky said. It is the mountain's heart we listen to. Come, place your hand against the wall. I approached the eastern wall. The rock was cool beneath my palm, trembling, vibrating at a frequency just beyond perception. Marky placed the stethoscope in his ears and positioned the diaphragm against the rock over one of the largest copper veins. Listen, he whispered. I took the stethoscope. I placed the earpieces in my ears. What I heard was music. Not melody, not harmony, but rhythm. A deep, resonant pulsing from infinitely far away and deep below. The sound of the mountains breathing. The sound of something vast and patient and alive. The mountain has a heartbeat, Marky said. All living things do. This mountain is more alive than most, and when its heartbeat falls out of sync, bad things happen. What kind of things? I asked. The heavy things, Marky said. That is what the old families call them. The things that live beneath the mountain, in the copper veins themselves. As long as the mountain's heart beats strong and true, those things remain sleeping. But if the rhythm fails, he trailed off, and in the stethoscope I heard something, a skipping beat, a moment of hesitation. That's why we keep the clocks, he continued. Each clock in this room is attuned to something. A person, a place, an animal. But one clock, the oldest and largest, that clock is attuned to the mountain itself. And if that clock ever stops, if that rhythm is ever broken, again that skipping beat. I served as Marky's apprentice for what felt like months. Time moved strangely in that cabin. The world beyond seemed to fade away. My work was precise and endless. Marky taught me to hear the subtle variations in each clock's ticking. He taught me to adjust the escapement mechanism, the delicate wheel that governed energy from the spring. He taught me to use a copper tuning fork to attune each clock to a particular frequency. Every living thing vibrates at a specific frequency, he would say, his voice low and hypnotic. When a clock is properly attuned, it resonates with that frequency. It echoes the pulse of the thing it represents. I did not ask what he meant. I was young, trapped in the mountain's rhythm. One night, or what I believed to be night, I could not sleep. I rose from my bed and walked through the cabin's corridors, following a path I did not remember learning. I came to a door I had never seen before. It was made of wood so old that it had turned black. It was unmarked except for a keyhole shaped like a teardrop, but it was not locked. This was the archive room. The walls were covered with clocks, not the crude experimental clocks of the workshop. These were beautiful things, crafted with meticulous care. They were enclosed in cases of mahogany and rosewood, each bearing a nameplate. I moved deeper into the room. The light from my lamp caught the engravings on the nameplates. John Hartwell, Martha Pritchard, Samuel Moss, Thomas the Miller, Rebecca Ann Cole. Names, all names, each paired with a clock that ticked with its own particular rhythm. I had walked perhaps 100 paces when I saw a nameplate that made my breath catch. My own name, engraved beneath a clock fashioned from dark wood and brass. I reached out to touch it, my hands shaking. The case was warm beneath my palm. When I placed my ear against the wood, I could hear my own heartbeat echoing back at me. The clock was ticking in perfect synchronization with my pulse. It was attuned the day you arrived, a voice said behind me. I spun around. Marky stood in the lamplight, his shadow stretching impossibly long. He held a copper tuning fork, humming with a faint note. The moment you accepted my offer, your frequency was locked, he said. Your clock will keep your time as long as you draw breath. And when you leave this place, if you ever leave, it will begin to slow, will become arrhythmic, until your heart matches the pattern no longer. I understood then that I was not truly an apprentice. I was a prisoner, something brought here to fulfill a purpose I did not yet comprehend. Come, Marky said. There is something else you must see. He led me deeper, past hundreds of ticking clocks. We came to the far end, where the largest clock I have ever seen stood in a place of honor. It was 12 feet tall, a massive construction of copper and iron and wood so dark it seemed to absorb light. Its face was engraved with astronomical symbols. Its hands moved with ponderous, deliberate slowness. And it was slowing down. Each second, the interval between ticks stretched longer. Tick, tock, tick. The rhythm was breaking apart, fragmenting into longer pauses. "This is the heart," Marky said, "the master clock. It is attuned to the mountain itself. For 300 years it has kept the rhythm true, but it was built by a man who is long dead. We maintain it. We keep it running, because if it ever stops, he did not finish. He did not need to." "What happens?" I whispered. "The mountain wakes," Marky said. "The heavy things beneath it open their eyes, and the fog descends, and it does not lift again, not for a very, very long time." I stared at the massive clock face, and I realized that the intervals between ticks were definitely longer now, definitely slower. The ancient spring was losing its strength. The mountain's heart was failing. I do not know how long I worked that night. Time had become separate from day and night. Marky taught me the rituals, the way to approach the heart clock with reverence, moving slowly, carefully, speaking in whispers, the way to attune myself to the frequency of the spring, matching my breathing to its pulse, the way to apply the special oil, an oil that smelled of copper and earth, to the mechanism's joints. And slowly we wound the spring. It was not mechanical winding. Instead, it was sympathetic manipulation. Marky would place his hands on the clock's casing, and I would place my hands over his, and we would breathe together. And with each breath, the spring seemed to tighten. "Why does the spring weaken?" I asked. "Because the mountain is old," Marky said, "and the things beneath it are restless. They press upward. They push against the rhythm. As long as the heart keeps time, they remain confined. But the effort exhausts the mechanism." As we worked, I noticed changes. The ticking of the clocks had grown louder. Each clock ticked with increasing urgency, and the copper veins in the walls began to glow, a greenish luminescence that pulsed in time with the mountain's heartbeat. Except that heartbeat was becoming irregular. Tick, 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 tock, tick, tick, tock, tock. The rhythm was fragmenting, and with each missed beat, I felt a vibration through the floor, through the walls, through my own bones. On the final night, Marky took me to the eastern wall of the workshop. The copper veins were glowing brightly. "Place your hand on the wall," he said. I did. The stone was warm, almost hot. It was vibrating intensely. It was no longer the regular pulse of a living mountain. It was the trembling of something in great pain. "The mountain is dying," Marky said. Not truly dying, but the rhythm that keeps the deep things dormant is failing. Soon they will realize it. Soon they will push through the stone and emerge. And when they do, the fog will come. Why haven't you fixed it? I demanded. Marky looked at me. For the first time I saw something like sympathy. Because it is not meant to be fixed, he said. The clock is a temporary measure, a delay. Every man who becomes the clockmaker buys the world another lifetime, sometimes a century, sometimes more. We slow the awakening, and then when our strength fails, we choose a successor, someone to inherit the clock, inherit the mountain's pulse, inherit the weight of knowing what must eventually come. He placed his hand over mine. His skin was cold, so very cold. I chose you, he said. The moment you accepted my apprenticeship, the heart accepted you. Your blood now sings at the mountain's frequency. Whether you leave this cabin or stay, you will carry this knowledge forever. You will hear the ticking always. Every clock you pass, every heartbeat in your own chest will remind you of what waits beneath the fog. The copper veins in the wall began to crack. I could hear the stone splitting, hear the weight of something pressing upward. The light flared blindingly bright, and in that brilliance I saw something vast beneath the stone. The mountain groaned, genuinely groaned, a sound like the cry of a living thing. And in the workshop, every clock in the room suddenly fell silent. The synchronization had been lost. The rhythm had broken. The mountain's heart was no longer beating. Marky walked to the heart clock and placed his hand upon its face. The ancient clock had stopped. Its hands no longer moved. It is done, Marky said. I have bought you the world. Now you must go. Tell them that the fog is coming. Tell them to listen to their clocks. And tell them that when you are old enough, you must find someone young enough to carry the burden forward. I left the cabin that night. I walked out into a fog so thick that I could not see my own hands. And when I finally emerged, I was changed. I was the clockmaker now, and I would always hear the ticking. So here is what you must know, whoever listens to my voice in the darkness. Every mountain has a heartbeat. Every valley sings at a particular frequency. And there are things that wait beneath the fog. Things that have always been there, pressing upward with patient, infinite hunger. The clocks keep them sleeping, for now. But the clocks are getting slower. The rhythm is becoming more irregular. In my trembling hands, This pocket watch is slowing down, and the fog is creeping down from the ridges. Listen. Do you hear it? The ticking. It is all around you now, in every clock in your home, in your own heartbeat echoing in your ears. That is the mountain's rhythm, spreading outward, preparing you for the day when the rhythm finally fails. Sleep now. Sleep deeply. Let the ticking become the sound of your own breathing. Let the rhythm of the mountain's heart become your heart's rhythm. Sink down, down, down into the darkness. The fog will come again, but not tonight. Not yet. Tonight you are safe. Tonight the clocks are still keeping time. Sleep.